I just want to tell people to keep on believing because honestly, where I was a year ago and where I am now, I would have not believed that it was possible. Like, but I'm still here and still trying to just be consistent because consistency is actually key. You hear people saying it, and it's not until you're actually living it.
Welcome back to the Corner Talks podcast. I have my good friend here.
How's it going, man? Happy to be back.
No, it shouldn't be about anything. Like, this is one life.
Yep, one life? Like, fucking do it.
My guy.
But she just got it. She totally understood it.
20 years old when I started just watching a lot of movies.
And it tells a story. I want to tell a story.
Good friend, talented photographer, Daniel Eboreime. How's it going, buddy? How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate this. Like, it's really nice having me on here. So, let's just get into it.
Yeah, 100%, man. Honestly, like I just have to say, most of my guests that I have on the podcast, they're either friends, colleagues, or people that I've connected with on social media. And you're probably like my first guest that I just networked with face to face at a clothing store. Walk in, represent that boutique store. Love that store. One of my favorite spots to shop. And we were just, hitting it off, exchanging kind of conversation about being creative and our visions for the future, what we had in mind for our careers. And we're here now, having you on the podcast. I'm so grateful that you're receptive about coming on the podcast. A lot of people are camera shy. They don't want to be seen and heard, but as a creative, how important it is, right? To be on the, to be, bring awareness to your brand.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Awesome, man. So, like I said, we had a conversation as you were ringing up my items on the cash. By the way, shout out, excellent quality customer service. You guys were killing it there. And thanks again for helping me out with that service. And, through our conversation, we were like kind of finding a commonality other than our first name, I should say. We both have Daniel. We were finding, the same interest in the arts and photography and fashion. Now, I want to know from you, man, like what artistic medium are you involved with? And why did you decide to become this type of artist?
So initially, I would say I'm a creative director.
Okay.
And I started off by taking pictures. So I've always wanted to be a model, but like I'm not that tall and everything.
Yeah, the 6 feet.
Yeah, exactly that 6 feet mark. So most times I'm not trying to hold people to their perceptions of what they feel like models should be like and how they feel like models should be like. So I started like just doing shoots on my own. I had my friend Oshokai that took pictures, and honestly, he helped me so much because I didn't know anything about cameras, but like my mom got me my first camera ever.
Nice.
So I just started going into modeling and everything. Then I saw that in shoots that I would dictate how I wanted it to be, like the styling, the photography, the directing. Like I'm always trying to control everything. Then I thought that, maybe modeling isn't just what I could do. I could, take on a bigger role. And that's how like directing came over. And I just started going with that, taking shoots. But in the meantime too, I always do modeling, but the modeling I would do would be still shoots that I would probably creative direct. I'm in charge of the styling. I know the photographer. So everything is still like coordinated. Like,
yeah, we still works towards that same goal, right? That same vision about becoming like a model, right? And I love all these points, man, because photography, modeling wasn't on the trajectory for me. That wasn't a passion of mine that I kind of had set my sights on. It was always filmmaking, but instead of always looking at it as I just want to be a director, I reverse engineered it, kind of like what you did, right? Like found a way how to still remain relevant in the industry, how to make a presence. And what I mean by that is, if you talk to me when I was 17 years old, and I wrote my first script, because I write these feature-length screenplays as passion projects, I wanted to direct it right away. And then I realized quickly that the only way to direct it is to have material to show for. And how do I get material to show for? Well, I'm not going to direct the first feature, that's for sure, right? Because people are going to want to see if you're credible enough to be funded. So I had to pursue short films, music videos, all the content that you've seen on my page or the content that I shared with you through our exchange when I was at the walk-in boutique store. So I really like those pointers, man. And I'm so happy you had that self-awareness quickly because you're a young guy and you realized, hey, the only way is to to beat them is to join them, right? It's kind of like, I'm not going to be sulking and saying, oh, I'm not a model because I'm not 6 feet. You found a way around it, and you found a way to still get into the industry. And I like what you also said about how photography allowed you to be more of a behind the scenes and in control of the creativity that's involved. Because you're right, as a model, because I've dabbled with modeling as well. Like I tried to break into that industry. You're dictated by the photographer. You can't do anything, and you can't suggest anything. Actors have a little bit more leeway, but even those guys do not have as much leeway as a director. And that's another reason why I chose directing. So good on you, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
Of course. So that's great. So you establish yourself, as a creative director. You're pursuing what you want to do, which is highly commendable, especially on this platform. We always, encourage our creatives to do that. Now, I want to know from your family and your friends, how did they react to this decision to pursue such an unconventional path of the artist? Were they supportive? Were they discouraging? What are your thoughts, man?
So basically, I know I went to York University and I studied business after a 5-year program, and
Nice.
nothing. I didn't do anything creative in school.
Yeah.
So, but the thing about my parents, from a very young age, I've actually just been a fashionable person. Like I've always loved wearing suits and just always dressing out. You know, my motto is dress how you want to get dressed.
Yeah.
So every time my mom would always know that I loved fashion. She even initially thought that I would be going to like fashion school, but like with African Nigerian parents, most of the times like that relationship, it always like generates and gets better when you get older. So as a child, it's always them in the driving seat, and it's like, you don't really have much to say. But from now thinking about it, and I just realized that like they did a lot of things to actually like still impact me in like
they encourage the dream indirectly, kind of thing, right?
Yeah. So like I said before, my mom got me my first camera, and at that time it was like shocking because someone just told me about it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I could get into that. I didn't really know anything, no apertures, none of that, the lighting. And I just told my mom, oh, I wanted to get a camera, and she's like, okay, sure thing. And there, I got in Mississauga Square One. I'll never forget, at Henry's, I got my first Canon T5 series.
That's amazing.
And that's what I still use up to this day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Same camera. That was my first camera. I upgraded more to the Sony A7 III because it's for more for filmmaking. But yeah, just interject. Same thing. Yeah.
So basically, like all that started, and I was able to like, from time to time, like I said, with the modeling and taking pictures, and I was able to do all that. But like one big impact was my friend Oshokai that took pictures. And initially it started off as me paying him money to just like take my pictures and whatever. And he saw that, okay, this is actually something that like, is more than what it is. Like, I know I want to make money, but like you're doing more than just modeling. So how about like we come together and like just do this thing? Like, you help me, help you kind of situation.
Doing something that's bigger than yourself. Yeah.
So that going on, we're able to like, just go on and take more pictures and more pictures. And that's when COVID hits.
Oh, shit. No.
And once COVID hits, it was like,
your world
once
collapsed,
COVID hit,
man.
it was like, oh my God, like, yeah, no, everyone was like, oh wow, it's like we're slowly breaking out, but it's like COVID just put everyone back in a bubble. Wow. And it's like we had to like start again. So that's when like every single one of my friends actually started like getting into things that would actually surely get into in this conversation. So everyone started getting up and picking up niches and doing things more. And that's when like we were able to find like our creative agency, Creative Eye. Then my friend picked up being a producer. Then also we got the merch too. And that's how.
Yeah, we'll discuss that. Yeah. Honestly, man, like we're very similar. The whole thing about, finally kind of making it your own, taking matters into your own hands, and you want it to be creative, right? And then when that finally happens, the pandemic hit, huge damper, devastation for all creatives. And I had the same reaction, man, the same experience. I didn't know how else I was going to bounce back. At the time, people forget when the pandemic first started, we didn't know if the world was going to collapse. So I was like, is this it? Like, this is it? Like I'm 20, at the time I was 24, 25. I'm like, I'm just getting started. This is my prime. And this is what I've been told. Right. So very interesting that you and I share similar paths that way. But now we bounce back, right? We figured it out for ourselves. I think that's the important thing. That's what the pandemic has taught us, is to be resilient. And back to your parents too, right? Like, I just want to mention this. My parents are also like immigrants, like, or have that immigrant mentality, from Italy, and pursuing the arts, pursuing film specifically, they were very supportive too, in a way, very indirectly, that is, because directly they would tell me, get a normal job, stop wasting your time, stop stressing out. But indirectly, they would like buy my first camera as well. You know what I mean? Like you were saying. And my point being is that the only way that you can agree on this, the only way to kind of have them be more supportive directly, is to show face, to show something for it instead of talking about it. Do you agree on that, man? Like, as you consistently do more projects? Yeah. That's amazing.
Same.
That's amazing, man. So I want to know from you, like, are you self-taught with this kind of craft that you're in, like as a creative director, or did you attend some sort of school to kind of enhance your skills more and more? How did you get your education in this industry?
So honestly, I would say it's a lot of like being self-taught. And actually just, YouTube University.
YouTube, bro. That's it. That's it, buddy.
A lot of videos and like, just like my other friend too, Oshoka, he studied media in school, but he's always been taking pictures for about 10 years now.
Yeah.
So he's a wizard with this. So most times if I needed help, I would always call him, or he would be with me in like editing and stuff like that. So I pick up things fast. And like with just how I would want my work to always look like, I would go the extra mile to, just follow a lot of photographers, a lot of people that would, take me in that direction. So it was easy just to learn. And again, it's different from like school, because when you're in school, it's like you're forced to do something. But like, I had to go out of my own way to learn something that I liked and something that I knew was more genuine to, my craft.
Right. No, that's important, man. And again, like YouTube has saved a lot of creatives in terms of, being more familiar with their craft and understanding, like gaining a skill set. I feel like 20 years back, before YouTube, you would have to go to school. Even the equipment was much more expensive, not as affordable. So we're very grateful to be in this time, right? To capitalize on those advantages. So I'm really happy about that. And yeah, man, YouTube, just to think back, the amount of videos we would have to go through, right? But it's so cool, man. Like anything, you learn as you go, like you learn on the way. And that's what I kind of tell people is don't get overwhelmed. You're not going to know everything right when you start. But whatever you're seeking or looking for, search it up, like whatever your vision's asking for, right? Like if you're looking for a Super 8 kind of grade or film look, right? You search that up and say, how do I achieve this in the editing program? You know what I mean? You don't just start going through textbook knowledge of everything, right? That's what university failed for us, in my opinion, is they just shoved all this information at us, so overwhelming that I don't know if you, but I can't recall much. So if you learn, right, if you learn at your own pace, then you're able to absorb more of the knowledge. So that's just my take on the academic institutions. Anyway, individuals are innately creative yet highly ambitious. They're constantly seeking to explore avenues that establish their artistry, right? And upon viewing your Instagram page, I've noticed quite a number of creative endeavors you've pursued, including being the founder of The Creative Eye and creative director of Detti Laundry, which is the merch you're wearing right now. Represent. So what kind of project is The Creative Eye, and what creative purpose does it serve you?
So basically, like I said, during that 2-year period of just being at home and not able to actually do anything,
right?
My friends and I, like, we start to realize that, like, as international students at that time, there were not a lot of opportunities for us to actually, because I'm done with school and I have to still work and get my permanent residence and all that. So most of these opportunities for like creatives would not like extend towards us. So, why not like try and make a community? Because there are a lot of us around here, and make a whole connection, like a whole community web. So it's easier for us to, you're doing a shoot and you don't know how to reach to this next person. And the fact that we've connected, it's going to be easier to,
That's so smart.
We all share a common goal. Like at the end of the day, as much as it's hard for people to see, because sometimes it's egotistic to others, right?
Yeah.
So for us to understand that there's a bigger goal, and there's like in the bigger picture, you just have to understand that like in a set, you need people to function to make a bigger picture.
Yeah,
like
of course.
movie sets, that's how things work.
Moving
So
parts.
that's how we found Creative Eye, and it's for creatives by creatives. And most of the things that you see on that page are pictures that I have directed or taken with various amounts of creatives. And we tried to make a whole connection web where if you look at the page, they're like black and white pictures. And those pictures, right, you have creative names and what they do. So it's easier when you see creatives on that page. You don't even need to, you skip all the formalities and be like, oh, it's easy to work. We could just get onto it, and that's what we're trying to do. Just break the whole thing so people could just work together. So it's easier to just get things done. Because especially being in Toronto, it's hard. People here are not taking seriously. And
Yeah.
because of what I've done, like what I've done with my friends, I've seen a lot of super, super talented people. Like people that are like, wow, I didn't even know that there were that much creative people in Canada, in
No,
Toronto.
because the mentality, you said it right there, bro. Like the mentality here is very different, right? If you go to Los Angeles, I was explaining to people, there are majority of the residents there, they are working like full-time corporate jobs, and they're also doing like film roles on site. So it's like here, it's 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You know what I mean? Like they're not fully like immersed, and the lifestyle dictates it, right? Like it's not maybe the area for it, but a lot of people here, like you said, don't take it as serious, don't believe in themselves. They're also dictated by society, right? It's a different mentality over here. It's very corporate, very business-like. Would you agree on these things, or is it just me that gets this
Honestly,
impression?
it's true, because when I
Yeah.
started, I had like 100 names of creatives
Yeah.
that my friend and I would go from place to place, like to interview them, have their picture taken, talk. And we realized that, like, aside from having like an Instagram presence, not anyone was really getting into anything, or like we all had the same goal. So why don't we just come together as a community and just
Yeah.
get things going, make it easier for the next set of creators that are trying to come, just make it easier for us, for everyone, the whole thing, the whole community aspects. Because I could see, like, for example, when you look at like celebrities, a lot of people start off on their path, like on that solo aspect, but now you could see a lot of people, like at one point in time, like Kanye was with Jay-Z, like, collective, when
Yeah. When they're coming up, right? They'd be associated with the best. Yeah.
like all these people, they start to realize that, like, together we could actually come up and like do things like A$AP Rocky, Tyler the Creator, like they come together and like people eat off these things,
Yeah.
but they all together, like they do their things solo, but once they know they're together, it's like, well, why can't we start doing these things early? So it's like we do that, and we could put ourselves in different.
We grow together. Yeah, grow together. And honestly, man, like it's amazing to me how very similar we are, because the mentality, right? You created this community, that platform, if you will, to invite creatives in your area, Toronto, that is, to share the same interests, right? To contribute to the same goal. And I did this with this podcast. That's what's funny, is like I didn't create like a social media page, but I did this podcast like to have people like yourself come on, talk about their experiences, talk about their journeys, and they don't realize, or maybe some do, that through the conversation that we're having, we're networking, we're getting to know each other, and the people listening are also getting inspired, right? So it's a multitude of reasons why we, kind of exercise these creative outlets, but it's important. It's imperative to the community of creatives, because if we don't allow an access point, we're always going to be kind of dismissed, put in the shadows, that we're not exercising our creativity to its fullest potential.
True.
Yeah. So good on you on that, because I wanted to know what the hell a creative high was. But I love that, man. And I love that we're part of each other's communities, and we can share more and more collaborations together, which is something we've already discussed at the Walk-In Boutique store. So I'm happy about that, bro. So now I'm going into Daddy Laundry. We love fashion, as you can tell, when I was shopping there. And, I was telling you about my clothing line, the 94 collection, and you're now creative director for this brand, Daddy Laundry, that has a very similar aesthetic to what I envisioned for my brand. So I want to know, like, what is your role entail for the organization as creative director?
Oh, so basically, I wasn't even creative director when it started. Like my friend Danielson, he was a graphic design. He is a graphic designer.
Oh, okay.
It just started with him putting stuff on, like, shirts on Photoshop and just making it, and just doing his thing and just getting better.
Nice.
Then COVID happens and he's like, oh, I'm gonna get the printing machine, like for what do you call it, the screen printing machine to
Right.
start, doing it on clothes. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, okay, when you do that, like, of course I'm going to help you take pictures and all that, because creative directing is what I do.
Yeah.
So he does that. Then from there, we had the first like launch. Then he was just like giving it out to friends and everything. Then the second time, that's how we now came up with this logo. Then I thought that, you're already taking on so much work as like making the stuff. He's getting it. He's getting all the t-shirts and everything.
Right.
And he's screen printing everything, like he's buying everything. And I'm like, I could come on board, and like, we're already good enough friends. I could come on board and
That's
like
crazy, bro.
better, help you come up with designs, help you make executive decisions. And from there, he's like, yes. And that's how we started. And we had like a relaunch. And that's where we had this logo and had like the first drop and everything. So from time, we're trying to make it like a, like the Supreme drop, where it's like every Thursday, and it's like, if you miss it, you miss it. So
yeah. Like they'll have, like, I remember in Fairfax, like they had a lineup, bro, the whole street. And it was like, they're giving away like 40 items that you'll never see again. And all it was Supreme on a motorcycle helmet. So the people lining up didn't even have a motorcycle. I was talking to someone, I'm serious, bro. Because they were explaining to me that, sorry, I know I'm cutting you off, but to interject here, like it would go, I think it was like $2,000 for the helmet, but they said they can easily get 40 grand the next day or more. Something crazy like that. That's how stupid the market is.
So yeah, you just want people to be wanting. So the more like your product is just there, and at the same time, like we're the ones doing the stuff like by hand. So it's a lot of work too. So just at a period of time, and you miss it, you miss it. So you just wait for the next drop.
Right.
And it opens room for creativity, because we do not repeat. Like the graphics that we do, it's on to the next, more newer graphics. But this is more of like the logo. So you get to see this more often on different colors or like different types of products, because this is like the logo. But like with graphics, we always try to make sure everything is new. So that's why we do a new drop every time. So like once every month.
Amazing, man. Well, I'm so happy that he recognized your talent and you're able to contribute this way. And that's smart on you, right? Like to capitalize and realize, hey, like you can't take this all on yourself. If you want me, let me, improve. Let me kind of offer more capabilities. And that's what you did beautifully as a creative director. That's what essentially I think a lot of us that are true creatives want to be responsible for, right? Is the whole creative element, how the product is presented, how it's branded, marketed. So that's great, man. And with these creative avenues, the Creative Eye, Daddy Laundry, how have they helped you to become a better artist? What have you learned through these experiences so far, man?
Honestly, it made me tap into like things that I never thought that I would actually be doing. Because like I said, all this started from me just being a fashionable person,
right,
going into photography, and it brought me back to fashion. And I've always wanted to, really know how to design, because I was never really an artist, like with the drawing and everything.
Right.
I always wanted
like a traditional sense, yeah.
Getting to that and like tapping into more things. And it's like with Instagram too, it's made me find more new talent and like more new people to like just be like, oh wow, like, oh, I could think of this way now. Or every shoot I do, like I aspire to be better. Like, every time you always have to achieve more and do better. So with that, it just made me want to do more. So with all these things, it's easier to just know that, oh, I'm trying to do this or do that or do this. And I could actually just tap into it, because with all these new things that like my brand brought and the creative direction, I can do a lot of things. Because like, for example, creative direction is a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
Because it it has to do with the modeling aspect, the whole styling aspect, the directing aspect, the whole creative as a whole, the photography, the videography, cinematography. So
Of
you have to
course.
have knowledge of everything. So as time goes, I realized that I start to learn more, or I start to love things more. So that's how I'm able to get better.
Yeah, honestly, man, you said it right there, because with this whole 94 collection, like I can relate to you, right? With this clothing line, I'm doing everything my own. And I don't mind it. But there are days when it can get overwhelming. But through the process of it all, you kind of learn and develop new skills. And you kind of realize, like yourself, you appreciate, I should say, how much time and effort it requires to kind of develop these new kind of expertise, right? Like videography, photography, right? It's not just you take a picture and you post it. There's like an eye you have to have for it. There's an image that you have to envision. The right music could throw off a whole piece of content altogether. So I'm so happy you respect that. But more importantly, that you're actively being involved with that craft. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people, let's be honest, we hear them say, I'm going to start a clothing line, or, I've always wanted to do this and I always wanted to do that. But you're actually performing. Right? Like, do you take a moment for yourself? Like, that's crazy, man. So good on you. And no, I'm serious, man, because a lot of people, like you said, in Toronto, especially, like, love the city, but there are so many creative people out there, man. There are so many people that want to do what we're doing. And they come up to me at the gym, or they come up to me at the supermarket, and they tell me that. And I say to myself, why? Like, you have the same advantages I have, even more. You know what I mean? It's like, why can't you spend some time? Oh, I don't want to. I don't know. It's not going to pay me. It's like, then that's why you'll never succeed in this business, because it's not about the money. And that's what it's hard for people to wrap around. Like, look, I don't want to, live on the streets either, right? Like, I want to eventually get paid, maybe even more, so I can fund my own projects. But at the same time, if you make it about money, you're going to burn out really, really fast. And that's kind of something that I told myself from day one, is that I'm doing it for the story, for the art, not for the check. And that's what we just got to keep reminding ourselves, Daniel, day by day. I feel like I'm talking to myself when I say your name.
That's what creative attitude has brought me, because most of the times, like, I've gotten to work with people that on a daily basis that, oh my God, you see their prices and it's like, whoa. But the fact that, like, I just know how to present an opportunity, because most of the times, like, we're all dreamers, like, we all want to achieve these things. So once that conversation and you're able to break down the barriers, it's like, oh wow, like, we could actually create something so beautiful,
I know, man. It's just about having that mindset, right? And acting on it, showing up, or as my friends say, showing up on time. But you know what, man? Like, that's all we can ask for ourselves, right? Is we can't control everyone else's lives. Everyone's going to do their part. Everyone's going to be work on their own volition, and we just got to worry about ourselves and where we can go in our lives, right? So I'm happy on that. So again, our conversation together while I was receiving that top quality service at your store, it was really insightful, and enjoyable. And your passion and curiosity for my craft and the craft in general was really intrigued me to ask you these following questions. Like, what type of projects and accomplishments do you want to achieve in photography or as a creative director?
So honestly, I'm even still like finding, because I feel like it's not until probably this year that I started even getting more comfortably into like my role as a creative director. So most of the times I'm even still finding out myself, and I'm still even getting upon like mediums, like not up until this year that I finally got published in a magazine, and this kind
that's
of
amazing.
Yeah, exactly. So like, you want the publication, you want to be acknowledged by your peers, you want to work with the big industries, you just want to be recognized. And at the same time, you just want to help your community, because like you said, we're not doing it for the money. Like, you know that you want to do more, you want to do more for people. Because like back home in Nigeria, where I'm from, you can't even like mention this of like to other people's parents, where it's like, oh, I just want to take pictures, or like, they ask you, is that not a hobby? In Nigerian schools, they're just science classes, business classes, and art classes. And if you're not in any of those three classes, it's like, okay, science, doctor, and all. business.
Hardcore academic classes. Yeah.
And law. It's like there's nothing for like arts. There's nothing for like videographers. There's nothing for like people that want to go into the whole world of cinema, like acting. They don't believe in stuff like that. So, my parents brought me over here, and you start to think and wonder, like, how am I able to do all these things? So like going off to what you just said, like I'm still like finding myself and like all these mediums and everything. Like I still submit my work like everyone else. So, I'm just trying to still get published and work with more people, just build the whole community web and just make it stronger and like have its webs reach every part of the globe, as like everyone would say, as cliche as it sounds,
To inspire everybody, right? That's ultimately the purpose. I think what I'm getting from you. And well said, man, because you realize where you come from, right? You realize the opportunities that were granted to you there, but you realize you wanted more. And when you came here, you saw the potential. And that's why a lot of people, like you said, you encounter in Toronto that don't realize, how good they have it, but they have the opportunity, the option to pursue the arts. Now, as much as it's not as celebrated as like, let's say Los Angeles, it's still there. Like there's courses, there's programs. And I have, again, cousins, I have family still in Italy that they can't pursue, filmmaking. They can't pursue what photography, what we do, because it's not a necessity there, right? It's not something that they value. So something like in Toronto, yeah, we value it much more. All right. So yeah, that's definitely well said, man. And Daniel, like I really appreciate you explaining that and kind of providing your intention of the legacy you want to leave behind. It all goes back to that community you started with, the Creative Eye. Yeah. And it's amazing to me that you didn't just stop with, I can't become a model. Let me figure it out how to get into the industry, because I'm a creative person and I'm not going to let someone or something deter me. So Good on you, man. Yeah. So I really appreciate you coming on the podcast, sharing your insights, sharing your journey. You've been a huge help, and I'm sure the audience is inspired by everything you've discussed here today. Do you have anything else to say before we leave, man?
Honestly, like I just want to actually thank you for having me. It was an honor to actually bump into you, because honestly, the way I met you is how I'm actually with everyone. If Amazing. I have creative like minds, we just have to chat, talk, exchange contact. So, I just want to tell people to keep on believing, because honestly, where I was a year ago and where I am now, I would have not believed that it was possible. But I'm still here and still trying to just be consistent, because consistency is actually key. You hear people saying it, and it's not until you're actually living it.
It's not until you're living it, man. Yeah.
So most times it's like you just have to be consistent, because
amazing.
I watch a lot of film and you get to see how a lot of people have worked to get to where they are. It's not until you watch something that has been dated like back to how many years ago that you see people, oh my God, it's not now this so and so person did an overnight hit and they're famous. So, the only thing is like right now we're in the day and age where it's like the social media age where things happen faster. So, just believe and it's gonna happen for us too, but just don't stop dreaming and just being consistent.
100%, man. Couldn't have said it better. Consistency is key. As much as we're down in the dumps as artists, we always kind of are very doubtful, hesitant on what could transpire. All this effort we put in, we got to look to yesterday. We got to look to the year before and see the progress that we've made, because we are making progress day by day if we are staying consistent. And that's the attitude to have, man. That's the mindset. So amazing. I really appreciate your contribution to this podcast. Your mindset, your energy is highly admirable. And I'm so excited to be connecting with you soon again and working with you as well, Daniel. You've been such a forthcoming individual, providing me with contacts already, which we'll discuss more later on, or people will see when I return from LA. So really happy you came on the podcast to share that. All right. So
thanks for having me once more.
Of course. Having said that, thank you again, Daniel, for coming on the podcast. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll talk soon.